Hello. I didn't realise we were recording. Hello. Welcome to the ECW Revisited show. This is now our 5th episode, which is exciting, as we hurtle through May 1995 and watch a bunch of people who are being currently misused in 1996 in WCW do really, really good things. The chuckling you hear is from the only person I know who has a doctorate in pro wrestling, Dr. Damian Gibson. How are you going, Doctor?
I'm good, my man. We are currently in the middle of watching the most amount of wrestling I think we've ever. Like this weekend, we have to watch. I actually was good this time and was above, like, because there's so much ECW to watch. And I think both of us are the same kind of people who have the best intentions to plan things out and then remember like the day before and end up having to watch 4 episodes, like 2.5 hours of ECW. Still less than Raw. Still less than weekly Raw to watch a whole month of ECW. But this time I was really good, thankfully, because we've got Bash at the Beach coming up, and we've got fucking Friday night AEW Dynamite. We've got Double or Nothing, where Daniel Bryan will become the new AEW heavyweight champion, with CM Punk as his valet. There's so much going on. I can't wait. I'm wearing my Warhorse t-shirt. Everything's good, Matt. Everything's
Excellent.
good.
Well, I mean, you're wearing your Warhorse.
I had to just name check all my little dudes before we started.
You're wearing
recording.
your Warhorse t-shirt. I'm in my dressing gown, so we're really, firing on all cylinders this morning. I can see.
Recently, you really are giving off Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy energy.
I think it
just waiting for your house to be smashed down, be taken off into the stars.
I wish. God, I wish. We're back in lockdown, so this is a return to maybe the slightly worse days of this podcast.
I think the
podcast is getting better. It was easier to record back then, though. Yeah,
time-wise. Yeah, I tried to go for. I did. I went for a run this morning with a mask on because I wasn't running. Last lockdown, all I was doing was getting fat, and this lockdown, I'm trying to get skinny. And like it was fine. This is like the first 30 seconds. Like, oh, this is weird, and like you have to get used to the breathing and stuff. And like everyone else out on the running track, no mask. So I just spent like 45 minutes of being infuriated. Like it was not, usually I do it at the beginning of every day. I go for a run now and it's really relaxing and it's like good for your mental health and endorphins and blah, blah. And I just came back from this run furious. I was so angry. So let's try and talk about some wrestling and get
all right,
my brain back
let's
into
open
check.
with, this is going to be the quickest recap of all time. ECW Hardcore TV, the 2nd of May, 1995. We have a promo from Tommy Dreamer, who talks about people saying he's got to get a victory over Raven. Then, basically, he says he's distracted because there's a new ECW champion. He talks about all the kendo stick shots he took from the Sandman, which is a classic ECW moment. That's sort of the whole promo. He says that Sandman's a poor choice of champion and that he hopes someone beats him, which I personally liked. It's not like I'm going to get him and I'm better than him. It's like I don't think he's very good, and I hope someone finally gets him. And the rest of this episode is a ECW Television Championship match with Eddie Guerrero, the champion, fighting Dean Malenko to a time limit draw to retain the title. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you can't any episode of any wrestling show that the majority of it is a match between Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, you can't criticize it at all. It was just really fun to watch. Both of us aren't overly, you're probably a little bit better at it than I am. I'm not great at describing a match. I've never wrestled. I don't know the majority of the names of moves. I mean, I know bits and pieces, but so when a show is like dedicated to actual wrestling and not all the bullshit that goes around it, I'm kind of hopeless. It's just like, yeah, this is really good, and I really like both of these wrestlers in ring, and you can see why they end up being, champions moving forward. Tommy Dreamer is, I just wanted to go back to Tommy for 1 second. He's cutting the same promo in Impact in 2021 as he was in ECW in 90. He still has that thing of like, well, because he had a thing with Rich Swann recently where he was involved in the championship match because it was like his 30-year anniversary of wrestling or something like that. No, it was his 50th birthday. It was his 50th birthday. So Rich Swann gave him a title shot as a birthday present. And even then, like, it was a month leading into that, and all of his promos were like, I'm not very good, and people don't think I'm a good wrestler, but maybe I might win against Rich Swann. I probably won't, but maybe I will. Don't count out the underdog, but you probably should. Oh, God bless him.
Yeah,
I love Tommy.
He's certainly something. I did the end of the Malenko Guerrero match where Guerrero puts him in the figure 4 as it hits the time limit. I thought is a really creative and wonderful ending. Like, it's, you're sort of heading towards Guerrero winning, which is, he's the champion. It's a good look. But also Malenko managed to get to the 30 minutes without tapping. So he looks great as well.
Yeah, I mean, all the majority of the booking that we've seen from Paul so far is fantastic.
He's not bad at booking. I think we should move to the...
Yeah. If only Vince McMahon had a Paul Heyman that he could speak to about booking of Raw at the moment. You know what I mean? What Vince should do? He should put Paul in charge of Raw.
No, I don't like it.
And let him book Raw for a bit.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I think...
Why do I have a feeling of deja vu?
Let's move on to the next episode because there literally was
no Vince.
There was literally two things there. We got Hardcore TV, the 5th of the 9th, 1995. We got two matches. So we got Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko defeating Norman Smiley and Mikey Whipwreck. It's a clipped match. This is Norman Smiley, who sort of in the dying days of WCW becomes quite popular. And we've got ECW World Champion The Sandman defeating Cactus Jack. We get a Jack promo where he talks about how he's going to win the title and gets interrupted by Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit, and Shane Douglas comes in. It's a Mick Foley promo, so it happens to be quite good. We get Raven attacking Tommy Dreamer, and there's a little bit of a brawl, and then Raven says that Dreamer can never escape him. I was sort of a bit disappointed in this interview because it wasn't 7 minutes of bizarre non sequiturs and like emo lyrics. But anyway, that's fine.
No.
Your friends and mine, the Public Enemy, talk about their dog collar match with the pit bulls, and then the fact that if they win the next dog collar match with the pit bulls, they get 5 minutes in the ring with Stevie Richards, which, given how irritating Stevie Richards is, fair enough. And then to end the show, we get Cactus Jack confronting the triple threat for their involvement in the world title match. And you've become... This is what I want to start with on this episode. You've become quite a big fan of Shane Douglas and quite a big fan of, I want to say, the friendship between Shane Douglas and Mick Foley.
Yeah, man. We don't share our notes with each other, but that's the closest we've ever got to seamlessly going into each other's segments. Because I've written down here Shane Douglas and Cactus Jack using each other's full names I don't know if you've noticed that they do that, but they never ever not say Shane Douglas. And I'm going to tell you, Shane Douglas. I'm going to tell you, Cactus Jack. It's never Jack or Shane or Douglas. It's always their full title every single time. But I have become a big fan of Shane Douglas because he's like really good. He's really good. And I just don't, after we sort of spoke in the last episode about how he got shafted at WWE, and I think it's I haven't done as much research, but it feels like it's a similar thing when he went to WCW. It's such a shame. And I sent you through an interview yesterday of him talking about the time him and Mick met. It's just, I don't know, there's something really nice about people being friends for a really long time, especially in the wrestling industry, because it just doesn't seem to happen very often. I mean, even the Clique now are kind of delightful, even though I'm not a huge fan of everyone in that. But when you see Hunter and Kevin and Scott and Sean and the other one, Sean, all kind of hanging out together, it's like, oh, that's kind of adorable because it's just not a thing. Anyway, Shane and Mick are still friends. I'm kind of fascinated by that. I want to say they should do a podcast together like every other wrestler on the face.
They also just both seem like relatively smart, kind people. Like Shane Douglas got his push in WWF. WCW got nixed by Ric Flair, and WWF got nixed by Kevin Nash apparently. And the Clique didn't like him.
Oh, right.
But he seems like a really thoroughly decent, smart human being. Look, maybe he was a complete arsehole. Just
unbelievable.
Because we are a visual show, despite being on the podcast medium, I just want to paint the word picture for our listeners that the doctor's head was just spinning on a 180 degree. That was a true head shake.
The amount of stories that we come across as wrestling fans where it's like, and blah, blah, could have been the biggest thing on the face of the planet, except the Clique didn't like him and they ran to Vince. And it's just, there's so many of those stories. Anyway, Shane looks healthy and good. And because he was saying in the interview, this interview that I found where he was talking about when he and Mick met, because they were both volunteering at what we now call a dojo, but a wrestling training center. They were volunteering to get free lessons, which is like the most 80s, 90s wrestling story I've ever heard in my life. Mick was studying film and Shane Douglas was studying politics. So it's not, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a genius, but it usually is a fairly good sign that you've got some brains if you're going to college and studying those kind of subjects. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the bromance between Shane Douglas and Mick Foley.
Everything
warms my little heart.
Everything about Mick Foley, he is. You can tell, like, Sandman is a like clear star. Shane Douglas is a clear star, but they're sort of ECW stars. Whereas everything to do with Cactus Jack is so big and so good. He's just outrageously talented. Like, this match is a great match. The fact that he, he has a reputation as this sort of hardcore wrestler, and he is a hardcore wrestler, and he's done crazy bumps and all that kind of stuff. But Mick Foley really is undersold for his actual technical wrestling ability. He can do that stuff as well, which is sort of why it's so great. Whereas most of the guys in ECW are like, just hit me with the most painful thing possible in the hardest way imaginable.
Yeah, you're not seeing Sandman doing hurricanranas or, two-pay service through the ropes or anything
That's
like
a real...
that.
You know how you can, in video games, in the wrestling video games, you can change the move sets? I'm gonna get Sandman and just give him Rey Mysterio's moveset.
But you wouldn't want him to do that. It doesn't fit with his character. That's the kind of thing where he, if he was on NXT, got called up to Raw. He's been doing the Sandman gimmick for 3 years, and then they get him up to Raw, and for some reason he's a belly dancer now or something.
Yeah.
And his only move is doing like a swanton
Yeah,
bomb.
his name would be like
'Cause
his
that's
name
it.
would be like Man Vegas, and he would be like a slick Hollywood producer who'd had to like move to Vegas and was
Yeah.
like trying to find talent. No.
Yeah. It doesn't explain why he's wrestling at all whatsoever. Oh man. I just want to, I know we do this every episode, but I was looking at Mikey Whipwreck yesterday, and he announced online that he's not doing like signings or public appearances anymore because he's got quite sort of severe symptoms from what it sounds like to me from concussions.
Oh,
He's
okay.
got problems with major migraines and light sensitivity and being super tired and all this kind of stuff. You can see it on his Twitter or his Instagram. He released a statement yesterday, so I just hope he was talking. He sounded really depressed. Like he was talking about how he's a big fat guy and blah 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 blah, which he kind of is now. But
he's such a good baby face. Like him in these matches is just like, you know, he just takes damage. Like he's not necessarily a great wrestler, but he's a fantastic like just heat machine.
Yeah, absolutely. He became quite a good trainer as well. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I know he's trained people that are in AEW
Really?
and WWE at the moment. So yeah, it came up recently, and it was people that I really like. It might even be Orange Cassidy. You know?
I think it is. I think you might have said that. I think
yeah, but look, don't quote me on that because that's off the top of my old alcohol-addled mind that doesn't remember anything anymore. But yeah, so anyway, it was a bit of a shame because it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you actually seem like one of the decent guys in wrestling, and yeah, hope he gets, you know, the treatment that he needs to. Like that feels like I was just like, maybe you should go see a doctor, dude. That probably, you know,
yeah.
like go and see a specialist. He reckons he was concussed 14 times in his career. I was like, man, I reckon I've seen you concussed 14 times in the 5 episodes that we've done.
That's
so
almost certainly not correct, unfortunately. Poor Mikey.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting how some wrestlers like get those, you know, get the sharp end of the stick with that kind of stuff, and others don't. You know what I mean? I mean, Taz is just strolling around AEW every week and seems fine. I mean, we don't know.
Although he's always
what happens in the background.
He's been very vocal about this idea that you've got a bump card and you've only got so many in you and that kind of stuff, which I think is quite interesting. Like that he's been such a, you know, that he sort of realised when enough was enough. Like I remember when Taz retired, and I was like, you sort of didn't think he had to retire at that point.
Yeah, was that when he broke Kurt Angle's neck in his first WWE match?
No.
He didn't. I'm being a smart ass.
Poor Taz.
That bump isn't even that bad, man. Have you watched that? Because they made such a huge. Oh, I'm going off on a tangent again. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get back to.
let's go to Hardcore TV. 16th of the 5th, and we got 5 episodes this week, so it is a bumper ECW. So we get a bumper month of ECW 27 years ago. We get 2 matches. We get Raven and Tommy Dreamer in an extreme death match. Raven wins this one. As just a spoiler for this feud, let's be honest, Raven is going to win a lot of matches. The Sandman, who's the champion, defeats Cactus Jack again. So that's the matches. We get a Cactus Jack promo saying that he'll get another shot and that Shane Douglas is the special guest referee. And he talks about Shane Douglas's broken heart and how he's a broken man. I don't know if this would be the smartest thing in the world, but then Jack talks about how Douglas got mad at Jack for screwing his ex-girlfriend and how Cactus Jack was able to have sex with her better than Shane Douglas was. So I'm not sure if I would be riling up the guest referee in my match in that way, but it's not me. We get the debut of Luna Vachon, who cuts a promo with Tommy Dreamer about Raven. Luna Vachon is someone from Raven's past, apparently. And Dreamer says that Luna's always been hardcore, which you can tell by the fact that she looks like the most hardcore person ever. She looks like she's in Susie and the Banshees. And that she stood in the shadow of many men. And now she's going to stand next to the man, Tommy Dreamer. I would say, I don't know how to say, I don't know if Luna was 100% sober during this promo. This was a rough one. What did you think of this episode?
Tommy's got a girlfriend. Yeah. Get in there, Tommy. I did not expect Tommy to just start making out with Luna. That was weird. It was like all these like worlds colliding, because it's that thing of like like my favorite band's the Beatles, and like I discovered them backwards. You know what I mean? Like Mum had Paul records, Dad had John records, and then I found out they were in a band together, and then like got Abbey Road first and worked my way back. And like being a wrestling fan is kind of a similar thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I know Tommy Dreamer from Edge and Christian's podcast.
So what? just to continue.
I mean, I know him better than that. And I know Luna from
your metaphor. You know Tommy Dreamer from his like late stage McCartney 3 era. Or is it McCartney 2? No, it's
there's actually the song Paul did with. No, it's McCartney 3.
So we're talking McCartney 3 era. The song he did with Rihanna and Kanye West. You're like, that's your Tommy Dreamer. Whereas this is this is like Blackbird White Album.
I know Tommy Dreamer from the Edge and Christian show. What was that? What was it called? Was it just called the Edge and Christian show on the WWE
I don't have
network?
Sorry.
Remember when they were trying to make original programming and Edge and Christian did like a sketch show? Have you watched it?
Absolutely not.
It's actually
no, it's not. No, it's
fun
not.
To watch.
No,
it is.
Not.
It genuinely is. They're very charismatic, man.
I'm sorry that Damian's been drinking before this episode.
I'm off the wagon. And I know Luna from Attitude Era, obviously. So it was just like weird, and I was like, "Oh, what's she do?" Because it was like when Rick Steiner showed up last month. You know what I mean?
do get some
where you just get these random people coming through. Where you're like, what the fuck are they doing?
I wonder if like there's there must be promotions like GCW or something that are sort of the promotions where you get released from the WWF or AEW and then like you sort of come in for a very quick shot.
Yeah, I don't know. It just must be like a quick payday if you're not signed. But it seems like in the night, when you look at people, like even just looking at Luna's history, it seems like she bounced around quite a bit before she had like a 3 or 4 year run in WWF. Yeah. But even then, I mean, it's like she managed Goldust for a bit, then she was in the Oddities.
God, the Oddities.
Then she was married to Gangrel and she managed him for a while. Like it's obvious that Vince looked at her and went, she's a freak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like she's been booked as such. And then apparently she was too mouthy backstage is what's been written down here. And so she was released, which probably means that she said no to Vince in some shape or form.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out from this episode is Shane Douglas's ref tights.
I'm assuming you're pro these, given you are very pro Douglas.
Oh, well, I mean, he looks like a fucking court jester, but yeah, I mean, it's great. There's still so many elements to ECW where it's like, these are obviously, like, he's not going and getting custom designed tights, right? Like, it just feels like a friend would have made these, or he got some material from Spotlight and his mum ran him up for him. You know what I mean? It just like it's so sort of backyard bingo hall compared to WWF or WCW, but it's what's like so charming.
Yeah,
about
I am interested. I have been thinking recently about when they start sort of producing proper shows for a bigger audience, and I don't know when that is. I'm really interested to see how they do that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like I mean, because this is pretty homemade, like
like
what we're watching at the
seriously
moment. Yeah, but I think if you gave, you know, like I'm on the verge of going on another fucking Vince rant, but if you gave Paul Heyman a show, I think he'd make a really, really, really good wrestling show. You know what I mean? Like I just he gets it. You know, even I mean we're kind of coming to these episodes now, but there's like a referee, there's sort of like a dirty referee angle that we're getting, like a personalized referee angle. There are a whole bunch of things that happen here in 95 where you're like, well, that happens in WCW in 1999, or that happens in WWF in 2001. He is a really influential guy. I don't know how much, do you know how much the wrestlers had input in what they were doing as well? Like, was it a dictatorship as far
genuinely
as
don't
Paul
know
was
all that
concerned,
much,
or?
and the ECW isn't really featured in pro wrestling Meltzer yet on Figure 4, so it's sort of, he has like a section for it, but it's really just fans commenting on it rather than, and I think we in a few months we'll get to proper behind the scenes, which obviously we'll go into once we have them. But yeah, I genuinely don't know. I'd be fascinated. Like, I know that a lot of the guys did, like, you know, other jobs around, you know, like Tommy Dreamer would take tickets and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they'd all set up the ring and pack it down and all that kind of stuff. Although they were always in the same arena pretty much, weren't they? Although they're starting to
move around a fair bit as we get to see constant bits of Enter Sandman. I believe the show is from almost all these matches were at Enter Sandman, which was held in Philadelphia, so that they didn't move for that one. But I think they're in Florida for a while a few months ago.
Did you notice? I think it's in the next episode we're about to talk about. Actually, no, it's episode 5 where Dean and Eddie are wrestling again. How shit the ring actually is. There was a close up of Dean Malenko like putting Eddie in a sleeper hold, and like the mat itself had like lumps in it and stuff. Like, you hear old wrestlers talk about, like, you know, I wrestled on lumpy mats and blah 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 blah, and you're like, well, that would have never happened. It's like it's happening in ECW while we're watching it. Like, there's like rips in the mat and stuff, and it's like, guys, you seem to be getting quite a few people through the door. Maybe invest in the ring.
Well, you know, I think they were investing in some other things that were maybe off camera at this point. Let's go to Hardcore TV, 23rd of May. So this is a bit of a this is not a massive episode here. Cactus Jack opens the show with a promo. It begins with a really long baseball metaphor that I can genuinely say I've never watched the baseball, despite having been to the baseball. It makes no sense to me. Then he moves on to talk about how he's about to turn 30 and he's got a week to prove he won't be in a wheelchair by the time he's 30, which is what people always used to say to him. And it is a spectacular promo. He is truly amazing. We get the Tasmaniac, who, God, I hope he's going to become Taz pretty soon. And 911 defeating the Oriental Connection. I'm not sure you could really call this much of a match, but it was certainly something. And then we get Raven and Stevie Richards defeating Tommy Dreamer and Mikey Whipwreck by disqualification. What did you think of this match? This episode?
Yeah, it was fun. It was probably the episode where I kind of my attention lapsed the most out of all the episodes that I watched. I'm not saying it's bad. It was just like, oh yeah, this is fine. So JR talks a lot about Mick Foley any opportunity he gets. It's pretty much like the two. Well, there's three guys he loves to talk about: Stone Cold, The Rock, and Mick Foley. And his big story with Mick Foley is that he spent months trying to convince Vince to sign Mick Foley. And that it's in his book. And then, like, once Mick sort of becomes successful, Vince was like, it wasn't that I didn't want to sign him, it was that I knew how close you were with him, and wrestlers will always disappoint you.
Yeah, I think that there was some famous line that Vince said, Vince let him sign Foley because he's like, you need to learn what it's like to get your heart broken. By
a wrestler. What does that mean?
That he's not going to be as successful as JR thinks, and JR's going to have to then fire him, I think was Vince's thing.
Well, anyway, it just shows that he doesn't watch wrestling. If you're watching ECW for any more than a couple of episodes, Mick Foley is so good. You know what I mean? Like, if someone came to me and was like, I want to sign this Mick Foley guy, and showed me this promo, like, well, we definitely got to get him in and have a look, right? Like, you can't. There's no way that you could look at this and go,
well, this is the thing, right? He's a great in-ring worker. He is I don't know if there is someone who has the promo psychology of Mick Foley. Like, there are great promos. Like, The Rock is a great promo, but he's really just a series of catchphrases. And not to take down, Austin's a great promo, but once again, like, it sort of hits the marks. Like, Mick Foley,
CM Punk was good at that.
That's true.
Like, I know CM Punk's my guy, but he was very good at, like, his psychology with promos.
And he was definitely in that sort of Mick Foley school of telling a story by telling a story. Like, Mick Foley is true, really. Like, I can't think of anyone in 1995 who's doing what he's doing and has the ability to do.
And he also looks like one of the bravest wrestlers. But
he also looks like, yes, he's not a buffed up muscle guy, but there are three kinds of people Vince likes. There are buffed up muscle guys who happen to be over 7 feet, or guys who look like they're like actual, potential drifter hobo murderers. Like, he loves a little hobo murderer, and Mick Foley is a massive dude who looks like a hobo murderer.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is he's got a bit of a belly on him, and that's, Vince has instantly dismissed him. But, so does Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston fucking rules. There's been numerous wrestlers that Vince has built up that aren't Lex Luger. So I don't. Trying to work out how that man's mind works will drive you insane. But yeah, Mick's just so good. I have Ms. Heat for Stevie Richards. I just don't want to see him. I want him to go away. Like, he's ruining Raven for me. It doesn't. I know that, like, the tank top and the hair and everything is meant to be. It's meant to make you hate him, but it doesn't. It's not in a way where it's like, oh, what a dastardly villain. It's just like, oh, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's the exact same feeling every time I see The Miz.
Away. I don't feel that way about either The Miz or Stevie Richards.
Absolutely. Oh, God. I just can't. It just ruins Raven's. Why the fuck would Raven have this guy around? Like, he's meant to be a loner for a start. Raven's flock kind of makes a little bit more sense in WCW because they're all sort of, I don't know, stoic sort of dudes as well. It makes more sense that they would be friends or associates. Yeah. This Stevie Richards, like, Raven relationship makes no sense whatsoever. It just, I don't know. Whenever Raven's doing a promo on his own, I love it. As soon as Stevie Richards appears, I'm like, oh man, no, go away.
I wonder if
anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
I wonder if I wonder if you're going to like the BWO and like the really classic Stevie Richards stuff.
It's not so much like the Miz is different because I've been watching him for like 12 years. And I'm just like, it's the same thing every time, and you're not even that good at it, and you're not good in ring. Please go away. Please go away. Stevie Richards, I think, I would be okay with. I just don't get him with Raven. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It looks like someone from fucking Soundgarden hanging out with someone from Motley Crue or Poison. It doesn't look the same.
The three shit bands.
It looks Soundgarden are a shit band. Soundgarden fucking rule, man. Man, Chris Cornell's voice. I was listening to Soundgarden this morning. It's so good.
I don't like Soundgarden, but I do like his voice.
Especially when you try and sing along and hear how terrible you sound.
I'm more of a Velvet Revolver fan.
Well, I mean, it's a super band, isn't it? It's, like, get out of the way, Cream. It's Velvet Revolver. Who was in that band again? That was Scott Weiland from Stone Temple
I always
Pilots,
get him and Chris Cornell mixed up.
Duff. Chris Cornell was Chris Cornell wasn't in.
No,
Velvet
he was
Revolver.
in the other one. What was the other stupid one with Audio
Slave, which is a really weird band.
They're like,
really weird. Although there are a couple of songs that are okay. But they're the songs where
Rage Against the Machine, who decide not to be. They're like, the thing that people don't like about us is that we're too political.
I don't think. What is interesting about Audio Slave is like the songs that sound good, and there's only a few of them, are the ones where they completely tone down, like the Rage guys, and just sound like Soundgarden.
Yeah, okay.
Like it, and it's like, well, yeah. But then when Chris Cornell's, it's weird. It's a weird thing. I would be really interested to know how that came about. I mean, obviously the guys in Rage are friends and they wanted to keep playing together, but they didn't want it. They obviously. Anyway, I saw them play their third gig ever.
Velvet Revolver.
It was like a warm-up show. No, Audio Slave.
I thought, was this while you were touring with Velvet
Revolver? No one ever
Revolver?
saw Velvet Revolver. No one cared. Who else was involved? It was Scott Weiland, Duff, McKagan.
Slash.
But wasn't Duff and Slash in it? Was it all the Guns N' Roses guys without Axl and then just Scott Weiland?
Matt Sorum, Dave Kushner, who I've never heard of, and Scott Weiland. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, they achieved commercial success, but and positive reviews. I'm not sure that's necessarily.
I reckon Duff's been hacking into his Wikipedia pages again.
Edited by Dean Malenko.
He signs everything as Duff.
So Scott Weiland, before he died, left Velvet Revolver. And they were like, no, we've got something here. And they looked for other singers. They had auditions. The guy from Linkin Park, Lenny Kravitz.
What? Lenny Kravitz?
They auditioned. Sebastian Bach.
Why would Lenny...
If you're going to get Sebastian Bach...
Well, Sebastian Bach,
But no wonder, no wonder they just went back to Guns N' Roses, because if you're auditioning Sebastian Bach, you're like, look, like, yes, we have to put up with Axl Rose's, like, personality, but Sebastian Bach is 5 out of 10 Axl Rose. Lenny
Kravitz, with the Guns N' Roses guys backing him, could have done some really interesting shit. I would be interested to hear what that... I'm not saying it would be good, but I'd be interested to hear... I quite like Lenny Kravitz's first couple of records.
I can promise you, like, seriously promise you that none of the guys in Velvet Revolver were going to be doing any interesting shit in 2004 to 2010. There was...
Yeah, that's true.
Why
was the lead singer of Linkin Park auditioning for that?
I genuinely don't know.
You've got your own band that people seem to fucking love.
Surprisingly.
That's weird.
Anyway, let's move on to our last episode of...
That's weird. That would be like if Dave Grohl auditioned for Hey
I'll
guys,
tell you
Dave Grohl, what are you doing here?
the worst thing about Velvet Revolver
bizarre.
is the name Velvet Revolver. It's just it's just shit. I just hate it so much. It's like a velvet-handled revolver.
It just sounds like you've taken like a Bowie thing and a Beatles thing and put them together. Like, this is no, it's just no. Anyway,
shame on you, Saul Hudson.
It wouldn't be an ECW episode if we did just devolve into talking about 90s.
Well, we squeezed in one last episode of the Hardcore TV, the 30th of May, 1995. We get a we get Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko to a draw, which is pretty good. And we get the Sandman defeating Cactus Jack for, I think, now the third episode in a row. We get so these are all, once again, this whole, so basically the way ECW is working is they run a super show and then they film the matches and then they just play the matches on TV for a month and then they run another super show. I guess the other two sort of things of exciting was Joey Styles interviewed Paul Lee and the Tasmaniac. We're starting to get a different looking Taz, which is exciting. And Raven cuts a promo about his affair with Luna Vachon and lets us all know that there's nothing like the mental angst he lives with every day. I know you loved that.
Yeah, man. Fucking love it. Love it so much. He's such a self-indulgent fucking piece of shit. He's the embodiment of like those dark moods you have when you're 15, 16 years old. He's just permanently that. You know, when you're 16, all of a sudden you're just like, fucking hate everything. For no reason. Your hormones just like take control of your body. Yeah, I just imagine him like sitting in his bedroom listening to the Cranberries writing shit poetry. You know,
the Cranberries, what a pull!
Yeah, I really like the Cranberries, but that was sad. That was sad records. Outside of like Zombie, the majority of their it's just folk music. It's like really dainty folk Irish folk music.
Yeah,
and it's all about like fucking Irish civil wars and people dying, and it's quite sad.
Like, they've got some nice. What's that? Is Linger's a really nice song?
Yeah, Linger's nice. Like their radio hits, yeah. But even then, like lyrically, like they're never really good. It's always you're always breaking up.
Well, I mean, Zombie's about like bombings, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Bloody Irish, always banging on about that shit. U2, the Cranberries, Bob Geldof. Get over it, guys.
I don't reckon Raven was listening to it.
You were persecuted by the English for 900 years. Whatever. Move on.
Him coming out to the Offspring is really discordant to me. And like you're a little bit
with Raven.
You're a little bit older than me, but you seem to be agreeing with me. So I was hoping you might be like, "Nah, man, back then the Offspring were like they were like Nirvana too."
No, they were like definitely, but like the because like Nirvana, you know, like grunge, whatever the fuck that was, like L7, Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all kind of appeared at the same time. Even though they didn't, it just feels like that. And then there was like this second wave of kind of alternative bands like the Pumpkins, Rage Against the Machine, Weezer, I suppose, were part of that. And then like Offspring and Green Day. But like they felt, that next wave of bands felt a little bit, except Rage Against the Machine, felt a little less serious than the Seattle bands. The Seattle bands all seemed really sad.
Yeah.
all the time, like even Pearl Jam, that were probably like the most sort of MOR of those bands, was still writing songs about students who fucking shot up their school and, like, so yeah, Offspring were not a dark band.
I reckon Raven would be.
It's weird. Yeah, it is weird. It would be like if he came out to what's it called? Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
That's Stevie Richards' song, really.
Yeah.
I think he would be like enormously better off if he came out to Heart Shaped Box.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, given that he's already dropped like Kurt Cobain died and left us all here to wallow in this planet of perpetual sorrow kind of thing.
He was right. Things have only gotten worse since Kurt died. Every day is more of a hellscape than the one before.
That's actually probably pretty true.
And it was Kurt Cobain that was going to lead us to the promised land. Yeah, man, it's weird. It's weird, but fucking Cactus Jack comes out to Born to Be Wild.
At least he's...
You know what I mean? Like he's on the AFL footy show fucking grand final bonanza doing a like song and dance routine.
It's the one piece of character work that Mick Foley's ever done that doesn't quite fit. Like it's like...
Makes no sense.
Pretty clearly
whatsoever.
Mick Foley just likes that song.
What song would you have for Mick?
What song would I have for Mick? It's a really hard one, isn't it? I don't know, maybe like Lust for Life or something. I don't know. It's sort of hard. Or no, or maybe something by like Leonard Skinner or like something like, because he is that sort of southern.
Yeah, like Freebird.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Freebird does have other, and particularly at that point still was closely related to the Freebirds. Bad Street USA, that's what I'd come out to.
Yeah, maybe like Bruce Springsteen 80s period.
Oh, yeah.
Like yeah, no, it's probably too uplifting.
I mean, he could come out to...
It feels too clean.
He could come out to I'm on Fire, which I've always suspected is about a...
Her hometown, just to really get the crowd popping.
The river, just...
Yeah, something off Nebraska.
Oh, that would be ace. Mix a heart, like...
I mean, Nebraska's my favourite record of his, but yeah, it's not exactly going to get a wrestling audience popping when he comes out. I think Iggy Pop's the right... I think Iggy Pop and the Stooges.
Yeah, like...
Maybe kick out the jams.
Oh, yeah, that would be all right.
That could be cool. I mean, it makes no sense. It just sounds rad.
What's the first song on Raw Power called? The I'm the World's Forgotten Boy. Search and Destroy. That would be pretty sick.
Oh, Search and Destroy. Perfect.
Like, you've
That's
got
perfect.
70s, like, yeah.
Yeah, Iggy Pop is fucking mental, mixed mental, like in the same kind of way.
And
it's a cool choice. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that would be probably...
we should redub the redubbed ECW videos with our music choices for these guys.
I would love that. That would be...
It would be so... Yeah. I mean, if it didn't take hours and hours of excruciating work, then I would do it. But yeah.
God, you're such a fucking cop out. That's just I'm just so disappointed in you.
What?
All right. Well, we've come to the end of May 1995.
Oh, yeah, that's the end.
Are you still keen to get? Are you gonna return for June 1995, or are you just gonna let me do it solo and you'll have to edit it?
Nah, man, no. It is really, really interesting. And like, I know I kind of end up sort of saying the same thing every month, but it is a blueprint of what wrestling is going to look like now. Like there's so much, I see so much AEW in ECW. It's not funny. Like, and I was thinking about it while watching these episodes of like Ring of Honor seemed to have kind of, I mean, come at me if I'm wrong, but it feels like Ring of Honor kind of replaced ECW.
Yeah, I think that's right.
In the sense of being like that sort of underground indie.
Well, the guy that booked it
promotion
was a Paul Heyman guy. Gabe
Yeah,
Sapolsky.
it feels like that. Yeah, and then Ring of Honor has essentially been like the sort of through line of everything that's happened outside of WWE in the last 5 years. You know what I mean? Like everyone who's on AEW or Impact seems to have some sort of relationship with Ring of Honor in you know what I mean? Whether it's Christopher Daniels or the Bucks or John Moxley or whatever. Moxley was on Ring of Honor for a bit, right?
I don't think so. I think he was a
Oh no, I'm thinking of Seth Rollins.
yeah, he was in the CZW kind of death match kind of world.
Yeah, have you seen the photos that the Young Bucks are posting of Eddie Kingston and John Moxley on socials?
Yes, they're amazing
at the moment. Anyway, I'm digging. Look, it's even if I wasn't digging it, I feel like it's something you need to watch as a wrestling fan to know the history of wrestling, right? But it's so much fun, man. The only thing I would say about this month that I missed was a Paul Heyman promo. I didn't hear anything from Paul. More Paul.
Yeah, agreed. We did get that little bit with the Tasmaniac where Taz is now becoming the Taz that we all know.
Real Taz.
Which is fucking exciting.
The Taz that just loves doing the commentary on AEW Dark.
Yeah, this the second biggest name on AEW YouTube commentary, Taz.
Yeah, it is actually kind of, if you just want to put something on the background, it's worth watching AEW Dark just to listen to Taz and Excalibur pay no attention to what's going on in the ring.
They're the best. Anyway, cool. Thank you very much, people. Comment, like, start a petition, sign a petition. Yeah. Feel free to Venmo. Whatever you need. Anyway, go well, and goodbye.
See ya.